All right. What's good, folks? We are live. Give us a couple seconds here as we share out the link with our friends around the cryptosphere. Let me post this in. Boom, boom, boom.
I'll post in the Myosin chat.
Yes, beautiful. Bear with us. We'll get started in just a couple minutes, but welcome. Bum, bum, bum. All right. Okay. I think I'm good on my side. I have it all queued up. Bum, bum, bum. All right. I'm good to go if you guys are.
Yeah, good to go.
All right. Let's get this show on the road. All right. Welcome, everyone, for a very fun and special Friday edition of Chain Reactions. This is Chain Reactions, the weekly live stream by yours truly and my co-host, Paulina. Hi, Paulina.
Hi. Hi.
This is our weekly live stream and podcast for Myosin.xyz, where we talk to leading founders, marketers, and just all around awesome people from around the cryptosphere as some of the leading projects. And really pumped for today because if you can't tell, we got the 10 Protocol fam on to talk about all things TEEs and all this cool stuff they're cooking up. So really excited to welcome Bhav and Liam. How you guys doing today?
I'm blushing inside. I'm blushing. I mean, that introduction was way too luxurious for me. But yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Bhav here.
Hey guys, good to see you. I'm Liam, and yeah, we are ready for a 10 out of 10 rundown on everything 10.
10 out of 10. Boom. Oh, yeah, and if it wasn't clear, we all got our 10 Protocol jerseys on today. What's good? 10 out of 10.
Mine is hostage at customs.
We try to get Paulina one, but you know, the Europeans, they're not 10 out of 10 right now. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I don't know.
Free Paulina's jersey. Free
Paulina's jersey.
3 more.
Launch this token. But yeah, so I would love to get into things. I think there's a lot of fun to be had, but also I think the way we love to kick things off is always love to hear about your backgrounds, where you guys are coming from, helps humanize the story. So we'd love to maybe start with Bhav and then Liam as well. We'd love to just learn a bit more about your guys' journey, your general career journey, but also like how you got into crypto and how you ended up being 10 out of 10s. We're going to add a counter, by the way. I'm going to ask our editor just be like, each time. We're going to see how much we can rack it up by the
end. It's basically an airdrop.
Exactly.
But no, I actually got into crypto because when I was graduating in 2017, this is when the whole sort of like 2017 pump started. And I was like a casual fan, let's say. I was more like everyone. Let's just be honest, I was just checking BTC prices. And at the time, I had just graduated studying finance in the UK. And then I ended up going into equity research. I was a TMT analyst. I lasted about 3 months until I realized I was either too stupid for it or I just hated it, or a bit of both. And then I realized, what do I actually like? Well, I like speaking to people. So I ended up going to equity sales, basically just selling the ideas to hedge funds, etc. Got to COVID. Kind of hated my life, I'll be honest. Every morning I wake up. Yeah, exactly. All right. I wake up every damn morning and I look at the ceiling being like, what's the upside here? Where am I going to be in 5 years? And at that point, I had read, it's a bit cliche, a bit generic, but I read a book on Bezos and Amazon called The Everything Store. And they was talking about how, he came up with Amazon because he saw like the internet was growing at X percentage compound annual growth rate and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, if there's something I could get into really early that could genuinely, like, I can just ride the wave and actually kind of get into it and be mentally stimulated and blah, blah, blah. And it ended up coming down to like something really random, like drone technology or 3D printing or something. And then one was AI, and this is pre-GPT. So AI was still like, I said, it's not what it is today. And then there's Web3. So I go on Crunchbase and I was like, okay, I'm based in London. So I filter at London, who's just recently raised, who could be hiring. I saw Obscuro, which is our former name. We used to be called Obscuro before 10. And then I was like, okay, I want to work in a small startup around smart people working on a really critical problem that can push the space miles ahead. But I don't have any actual Web3 experience. So why would they choose me? So I was like, okay, well, in the same way developers send over a GitHub and say, oh, look what I've built. I was like, why don't I just do a BD cycle on them?
Yes. We love this.
So I was actually so new to like actual hands-on, Discord, etc., that it was the first server I ever joined. And when I went onto it, I saw there was a tag and everyone was like friend, FREN. And for the first day, I was like, wait, everyone's friend. I literally thought everyone in Web3 was French. I was like, wait, what? I was like, well, why is everyone in Web3 French? What the hell?
Just a big French cabal.
Yeah, I was like, literally, yeah, French cabal, French meme coins, whatever, right? I'm not discriminating. And then I go onto it and I was like, all right, let me just cold outreach them, ping them, jumped in a few calls, did a BD plan. And then at that point, it was all just devs or mainly just tech guys. And I was like, pitch myself, did a BD plan, bish, bash, bosh. I was the first BD hire. And that's how I got into Web3.
Must have been a good plan.
Yeah. Guilty.
I'm still here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then Bhav kind of took me under his wing. For me, my career path sort of started out looking really traditional. Like after graduating, my plan was to really go into consulting. And then long story short, I graduated during COVID. Everything was a shit show, as you guys all know. My job kept getting deferred and I ended up doing this like government study abroad program in South Korea. They basically paid me to study my master's. And that was when I really, I guess being in Korea, I kind of learned and I saw firsthand how tech adoption works in like this new environment that's so digitally advanced and like culturally open to, different experimentation with tech. And I guess you can really see there like how tech is not just about, building tools, it's about like having a place, a society that really integrates those. And my teacher, actually, one of the classes that I took when I was studying my master's was the head of Asia compliance at 1inch. So although the class I was taking wasn't really about crypto, it was kind of about like digital finance, fintech. Crypto was something he touched on in the class. And I guess from that, it sparked a curiosity for me. I ended up randomly having some friends who worked in crypto that I didn't really listen to what they were doing. And suddenly I was learning in this class and I was like, isn't this a thing that you work in? And these were just friends I had from like going out in Seoul. And then they were like, yeah. And then suddenly it felt like everything was coming together. And I started sort of getting involved in little projects here and there. Most of my background and experience while I was studying was in like, marketing, a little bit of sales, writing, PR. So, I helped out with some community stuff where I could. And when I moved back to London, my first real job in London, I'm from Ireland, but I studied in London for a long time. My first real job was at a Web3 marketing agency because I saw it as a really good way to use the skills that I had in like marketing and, my limited knowledge at the time of Web3. And it was great because I got to work with so many different projects. I know some people have different experiences with working at a marketing agency, but I really enjoyed it. Like the people were great. And I got to expose myself to so many different projects, like across so many different verticals, which was really cool. And then, I started, getting involved more in the Web3 scene. At an event in London, I bumped into Bhav and we started talking about like Web3 in London, like, the scene. And like, I got to learn a little bit about 10 and I was it was called 10 at the time. It had shifted from the previous name Obscuro. And I was kind of like, I kind of want to work here. And then, the rest is history, I guess. That's how I'm here.
10 out of 10. As one might
10 out of
say.
10. Yeah.
10.
I love how that was the Korean DJs that got you into crypto. While you're out there. You're getting all academic and they're like, you're trading over here.
No, really. Yeah, it was. And I'm excited to reunite with them at KBW shortly. An intro.
How is the crypto scene in Korea compares to the crypto scene in London?
I would say like there's a lot more going on in Korea, in my opinion. I think London, like now it seems like it's reviving itself, but I do feel like, I don't know, in crypto, in Korea, there's just so much innovation. I think especially in worlds of like gaming, like Koreans are just like killing it, and there's so many amazing projects coming out of Korea. I mean, the UK, London is great too. I think it's I guess just quite different, right? It's a little bit more institutional focused. You know, it still has that big like TradFi influence, but yeah, both are great, I guess, for different reasons. Bob, what do you think about the crypto scene in London now? I know you're based in Dubai, but you spend quite a bit of time.
It's really picked up, to be fair. I mean, when I got into crypto, as you mentioned, it was just like one of the financial capitals of the world, right? And you think of crypto, and even when I went online, I was telling Blake, I was like, oh, you search what are the top cities for Web3, and like London was like 2 or the third place. But you never saw it at like a degen level, let's say, right?
No.
It was all like, oh, the suits, as you say, right? They'll go to the digital asset summit, and you're like, hey, have you ever traded a meme coin before? And they're like, no, what is it? Right? And then let's talk about tokenizing stuff.
I want to talk about tokenized RWAs and
yeah,
stablecoin yield.
Yeah, have you seen MLG? And then it's like not on it. But nowadays, especially like the last 6 months or something, like it's really come together. People have like taken control. They've like, I guess, because I think Ethereum London as a community was the first Ethereum community in the world. I'm pretty sure.
Really?
It's founded by one of the founders.
Yeah,
and they really, to be fair to them, this is a call on marketing, and they've done great marketing, because I know that. And yeah, they've sort of doubled down. They're doing some great stuff. They did a thing for the 10-year anniversary recently, and you know, yeah, it's now a good balance between the suits and the degens, shall we say?
Yeah,
we need
it's good. Exactly, and it feels like, I mean, obviously, like all like globally in general, right? Like ETH is taking off, but like shout out to Benji and EF, and like they've been doing some events out there, and I saw Zerion did a dinner out there, and it seems like things are moving, so we're excited. But let's dive into it, guys. We're here to talk about TEM. So I think just to kick things off, set the base level. Can you guys help the world understand what the hell is TEM protocol? What problem are you guys solving? And let's start there, and we can expand.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I'll take it 2 ways. I'll do it in the explain it to a 5-year-old way, depending on who the listener is, and then I'll do it more technical. Explain to a 5-year-old. We are a encrypted layer 2 on Ethereum. Now, what the hell does that mean, right? In a world of, I don't know, 1 billion or soon to be 1 billion layer 2s, all of which are optimizing for, you know, fast and cheap and scalability and things like that, all the buzzwords. One key attribute, let's say, that's lacking is privacy. Now, when you say privacy, everyone's like, oh my God, like money laundering, and they get really scared, which is fair. But when we say privacy or encryption, we mean it in the good way. So in Web2 today, you know, when you use most of the applications, there's an element to which, you know, when you log into something, it's encrypted, and that's because of HTTPS. And that was, you know, in the 90s, and it allowed for what we today, you know as the FANG companies, whether it's, you know, payments or whatever, without which Amazon wouldn't be Amazon, without which Facebook wouldn't be Facebook, or PayPal, or anyone else who's huge nowadays. And today, you know, we're working towards this thing of mass adoption. Let's be honest. I mean, every time you read a white paper and it said mass adoption, you know, if you earned $1, you'd be retired by now. But the honest truth is, if you want to onboard the normies, whether it's DeFi or gaming or anything, you need the privacy, because the privacy at a smart contract level, which is what we're offering, whether it's the input, the output of the contracts, that allows for a certain genre of dApps that is either impossible to build today on any other L2, or just really hard to build. So fundamentally, TLDR, we're empowering builders to build applications that otherwise they can't build on L2s, leveraging the privacy we offer through something called a trusted execution environment, or a TE, in order to onboard the masses, long story short.
Are you guys going to be the ones to finally bring the next million users to crypto? Is that what I'm hearing?
Million, maybe billion, think bigger. I mean,
billions. 10 billions.
Trillions even. Let's wait for the trillion number.
The only thing I would add on to what Bob said is, like, I feel like we often do get the question of, like, you know, so are you guys, after all, are you just another layer 2, right? Another one in the big sea of
a common question. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many alternatives. Yeah.
Yeah, there are so many L2s, and they're still coming, like they're popping up. And I think like, we at the end of the day, from the outside, they all blur together, right? They're Ethereum, are cheaper, but I guess for us, we don't really see ourselves as another scaling chain. Like we introduced this whole another category with what Bhav talked about with privacy or confidential execution. So it means we don't really compete with like, let's say Arbitrum or Optimism. It's sort of like we unlock totally new use cases that cannot exist on those other chains. Like, a casino game can't really run on these other chains because the randomness will be visible, or an AI trading bot that can't really run its logic on other chains because everyone can copy its strategy. So there's so many use cases that really just simply cannot be built, and I think that's where like we have a really strong narrative, and we exist in the sea of like all these layer 2s, but 10 stands out because it doesn't really like fight over, I don't know, TPS or gas costs. It positions itself as this new execution layer, and I think that's really why we have been able to build this whole strong culture around what 10 is, because we do exist in our own lane. So yeah, that's how I really see where 10 sits right now, I would say.
Awesome. And given, I mean, it is quite, technical in a way that you explained, but my first touch point with 10 was actually somebody tweeted about a jersey that they copped on an event, and they're like, oh my God, like it's the holy grail of merch, And then I went around like down the rabbit hole because it was the first time that I actually heard about the protocol. And then, I saw the emojis, the merch, and like generally like quite active community. When, like, what would you say, like maybe Bhav, because you joined very long time ago, how would you like define the process of that community being built, and what were like maybe inflection points where it started to ramp up and really like
it's a good question. I mean, the unfortunate truth in Web3 is you need to have both the hype or branding awareness side as well as the fundamentals. Well, I'm not here to bash projects, but there's so many projects out there that have the hype and then nothing to back it up, and in the end it goes to zero, or vice versa. They have the product but no one knows about it, so no one cares. When I joined, like I said, it was basically like 90% a tech team that was product led, and the honest truth is, whether it be the users or the builders, nobody wants to spend brain calories to understand the technicals. It's just like when you use Amazon or anything, you don't understand, you don't care how it works. You just feel like, I want to press this button and it'll turn up tomorrow at 3 p.m. So for us, it was really about how do we, quote unquote, become sexy, long story short, or, interesting. Well, why should people care about us? Because the tech's good, the product's there, but if no one cares about it, then they have no incentive to even dive into the tech or use it. And this is why, myself, Liam, and our marketing lead, Rosie, we really doubled down on trying to make 10 cool. And that was, a collaboration of jerseys. We had Labubu jerseys. I lost my Labubu, by the way, but got an avocado.
Did you have a Labubu?
Labubu jersey. We even did 10 zins, and you had to scan
those I remember as well. Yeah, those were quite creative.
So we really had to double down on branding as well. Look, the tech is great, but unless people care about it, can connect to it in some way, shape, or form. And the unfortunate truth is, a lot of the audience today are degens, and we're like, all right, well, what's degen? What degens like? Well, they like nicotine, to be fair. So, all right, zins. What do they like? They like to look stylish, all right, jerseys, and recently they love Labubu. So there we go.
Yeah. So was it mostly through then IRL events and like, you being on the ground and just kind of like spreading the word, or?
Yeah, literally. We really doubled down from Denver this year. I mean, even if you said to us Q4 of 2024, I would still say the majority of our community was online. Because there's a distinction here as well. Everyone says, "Oh, our community," and they say, "Oh, what's a community?" And they start like giving you, "Oh, we have X amount of X followers or Twitter followers. We have people on Discord." And I'm like, well, no, that's not your community. The community are the ones who genuinely care about you. They're just followers. And I'm not saying they don't care about you, but at the same time, not 100% of the followers actually know what you do, care what you do, and live and breathe what you do. So we have to go out there and for once actually come off chain and be like, hey, we're actually human beings. Let's build a human contact, because sure, it's great on X, but it's so noisy. One scroll and you miss the post, and that's that. You lost your opportunity. So let's go out there, put ourselves in front of them, and give them the right onboarding, which in our case was making humans feel great by giving them stylish gear, zins, pimping out the Labubus, whatever. And that was a good onboarding mechanism for us to sort of be relevant.
I think also like for us, the reason why I think our merch like stuck a lot, like what you were saying, Paulina, you saw it like suddenly blow up and people talking about. I feel like we wanted to create merch that like really clearly has a strong identity attached to it. And I think when it comes to like jerseys and like zins, you know, they sort of split 10 into this like more than just I don't know, like a chain or like this sort of like very super technical chain. And like when we were going to these events at ETH Denver, at Token, like jerseys made us, first of all, really recognizable. Like you could see the jersey from really far away, and you know, these and all of these side events. And instead of like blending into this conference crowd, we were able to make like sort of a uniform, like a 10 out of 10 uniform, which kind of like gave people who did own them, now you guys, now all of us, you know, this sense of like identity that was really strong. And the Zims too. I think like there's a lot of other forms of merch which, you know, are great, but some of them, you know, like some posters and stickers like get slapped on like walls or, you know, laptops, and they show up. But I think that the jerseys themselves really were able to, I guess, create like not only online but also really strong like IRL moments and then viral or big content. So yeah, I think for us, like it was always really important. Like we've always understood like merch itself and brand as, you know, something that's infrastructure, not just a decoration or like something like a checkbox to take. And yeah, and also we're gonna have new editions of the jerseys coming out very soon. That's a little sneak peek. So yeah.
Are you guys gonna be? You guys got to do a bit of like on-chain stuff there, no? Like, yeah, I don't know if I'm.
Yeah, that's sort of the direction we're going in, and even regarding the distribution, we were like, okay, we sort of followed like in our minds. We're like, all right, do you remember the whole hype beast movement of like 2016 and Supreme and Yeezys and everything? We're like, well, what kind of made them cool was the fact that you couldn't just walk into a store and buy it. People were like queuing up overnight, and a lot of them are reselling, and you had the bots who were like bidding on these things the moment they came online. And it was like, this is why we were so selective with who we gave them out to. And these guys felt so important that they tweeted about us, which created even more FOMO, which made more people want them. And then it just kind of went buy, and the cycle kept going. And over time, we're distributing more and more. And then we're like, all right, cool. The same way you had your first Yeezys, we're going to do a season 2 of jerseys now. That's what we're known for. So let's double down on it, and let's just kind of, you know, go along with it.
I love it. I want to build off of this now. As we talk about, you know, giving out jerseys, making feel special, I want to talk a little bit about community, because I think there's a couple things. Is like we talked about community, but like we'd love to understand like how do you guys, who is the community? I guess like who have you found are like the people who love 10 the most? And then I think probably the hottest news off the press with you guys right now is obviously you guys recently did a Legion sale, and you guys already had, I believe, institutional backing, but curious about you know, you guys opened up the fundraise as well, or the raise, or however you want to describe it, to the community. So what motivated that? Who are the people? How's the reception been? Seems like it went pretty well.
Yeah. So the background of 10 is the founding team used to work at a company called R3, which built an institutional blockchain called Corda. TLDR, R3 is owned by a consortium of banks. So it's we literally invested in by the banks, and they do a bunch of cool stuff. HSBC use them to tokenize physical gold. It's used today in the UAE for the digital dirham, so in Abu Dhabi, the CBDC program. And we're like, okay, so our background is institutional, but at the same time, those we're trying to get to use 10 are less institutional. So the community round for us was both an opportunity to have a stake, number one, and number two, sort of reward the community as well. There's been people who have been with us for like 3 years. And at the same time, there's also this overarching narrative, which is sort of like, believe it or not, but through the last year, a bunch of TGs haven't gone well. People argued, the FDV is too high. What's my upside anymore? And we're like, okay, well, the only reason they're saying that is because the opportunity they're getting to buy in is post TG. So if we, and this is different. If you go back to like when Solana did a sale on CoinList in like 2020, and everyone got really rich because what Solana is today as a valuation versus then. I mean, these guys people become millionaires through like 10, 20, 30, 50,000, whatever. And we're like, we need to give people first a reward to get in by giving them the opportunity, but also they need upside as well. It's just the nature of Web3 today. So even when we did the sale on Legion, we made sure to give, I believe, a 20% discount on the valuation from the last VC round. So it literally was preferential terms.
Yeah, and on that, like one really unique part of our of this was how it linked with our campaign with Cookie, which a lot of people which we've had running for a while. We have this really strong community of people who are snapping, who are producing all kinds of like memes, videos, deep dives, educational content about 10. And we were able to link that and create a really strong link with that, and with our public sale with this like ACM model, which is basically a new way of treating attention and awareness as capital. Because like a lot of the time in launches, capital means allocation. Like whoever puts up the most money gets the most. But we kind of flipped it because we said, okay, well, who do we really like value in this whole process? And that's our community. And like we want to reward people who not only bring attention, but also creativity and like new ways of thinking and looking about 10. So this model was able to basically make sure that people who have actually been a part of our culture and our narrative had a priority in the sale, and made this long runway of community engagement before the sale even went live. So when it came, demand wasn't hype, it was backed by months of community work, and then these people had a preferential. They were able to invest and be a part of the sale right away. They were the priority. I think like that's one thing that I guess is really important for us, is putting our community always first. And we've always really done that in every sort of like initiative that we've ever taken, and we always will continue to, because we've always seen community as like not something that's just nice to have, but like the core part, and like the distribution of anything that we really do, because we know that of course we're building really cool tech, but the infra and the tech itself is kind of invisible by itself. It's the people, it's all of those people who are snapping or just who are part of our community that have given us like and made us create this really like strong, close, like sticky community. So I think it's always important to think about this kind of stuff. Like community is not just about engagement per se, but it's adoption and distribution, and also just the number. It should be the number one thing I think any of us should be caring about when we're building.
Yeah, I think so. This attention, right, through Snap's campaign, Yaps, or whatever, it's a blessing and a curse in disguise when you have a community sale like that. Because yes, you have community members who were with you for years, have all your merch and everything, but then you also have like more freeload. I mean, it's not really free if they buy into it, but you get what I mean, like more extraction rather than contribution to the community, which then leads to token dumps and all of the rest of the stuff. So the goal really is to convert them into the community believers, right? So what's your kind of, because this literally just happened like, this month, right? What is your playbook there? Like, what are you planning to do? How are you converting them?
I think that like, yeah, you're right. Anytime you sort of, I guess, tie rewards to contributions, you're going to risk attracting these people, these extractors, or whatever way you would like to phrase them, like people who basically try to game the system, and they're not really adding value. And like throughout all of these InfoFi, I guess, campaigns, you have people who haven't really been there and are spam posting, engagement farming. I guess one thing that was really unique about what we've been doing is that first of all, we chose to go with Cookie. Like, I mean, Cookie has actually designed this model so that it's quite resilient and like quality weighted, and it's not just a numbers game like I've seen in other similar campaigns. So like the content that we have that has been rewarded as a result of the campaign is only like wasn't judged by, you know, raw likes or views or things like this. The algorithm is really complex. I still don't fully understand how it works, but I know that it works. But it, you know, has adjusted for engagement quality and like originality, as well as that. Like for us, you know, it was really also just about communication with our community. Like we do these 10 out of 10 calls regularly where we talk with our community directly, and we do it weekly, sometimes multiple times a week, and we get to hear their feedback on whether this really like makes sense for them or whether this would be motivating for them. And it was really clear to us throughout these calls that they wanted to be a part of this big sale, and we wanted to listen to them and give the people who, you know, are talking about 10 the most and you know, really feel a part of this whole culture to be a part of like such a big movement. And of course, like I think with anything, you are going to still have like that to some extent, but all we can do is, you know, try to make sure that we are prioritizing those people and encouraging those people who really have been there from the beginning. And a lot of those people, interestingly, are on the top of our leaderboard. So somehow it's all kind of worked out. And I know a lot of them have also been a part of the sale itself. So yeah, that's a really good question.
Awesome. So the playbook is pretty much like attention through the quality filter, aligning incentives with the community, and then sort of hand-holding them and making sure that you're there for them throughout so that they feel like they're part of the journey, pretty much.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's a really good breakdown of it. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. So as you are non-technical hires, right? Bhav is the first non-technical hire. And I think a lot of the builders and founders in this space are so sort of blinded by their tech and how good their product is that it's hard to go like dumb it down in a way, right? Make it simpler and make it more I don't know, like easier to understand for the masses to actually onboard more people, like bigger community. And a lot of founders would say, well, we don't need the masses, we need the devs, right, to build, to use our tech, to build quality tools and everything. Like we don't need all of this like memes, we need technical things explained. How do you, like, this is like a chicken and the egg problem, I feel like. How did you manage to get past this cage of technical content and into the masses?
Yeah, it's interesting because the way I see it is if you want to build something of huge adoption, you kind of have to follow the whole narrative of like making being stupid great again. Because if you go too technical, you're basically just like saying, all right, the 5 in the room that get the code, you're our total addressable market. It's like, well, what about the other 95%? And also in Web3, the way, in most cases, the way a project comes into fruition is it'll release a white paper, get some fundraising, and then you just have roadmaps that keep getting moved. So if you were to even push with tech, you delay it so much that you lose the attention of devs and anyone else who cares. So you kind of have to do them side by side, but give one sort of priority. So of course, at the start, you need some element of tech there, whether it's a DevNet or a testnet. Yeah. But the moment you get to a testnet, in most cases, it will take 6 to 18 months to a mainnet. In that time, now you've got something to actually show, you've got something to leverage and build a community around. And that's sort of what we did. I mean, we spent a year or two getting to a good testnet point of view. And that's when we started onboarding those, which is the far larger market, to actually care about privacy, but not even by shilling TEs, because everyone does that, or shilling privacy. It was shilling the coolness of 10. That onboarded this kind of generation 1 or the first generation of users and community members, which by the time that arrives, these dApps are already built or being built. So the first, again, generation of users for the first cohort of applications is there. So you kind of have to like do them side by side, but at different times you have to give different aspects priority. So first start with the tech. So when the tech's there, it's going, and then when the tech's nearly there, you start on the community and the user side, and then users are ready, community's ready, and then at that point, deployments start.
And that's just chiming in here, right? Like I think that's the really hard balance that every like blockchain ecosystem protocol faces is like that. It's that never-ending back and forth between like, yeah, we got to push the product, but oh, we gotta, and then if you overpromise and you teach you too early, and then it's not there, it all gets ruined. That being said, I also want to dive deeper, not into the technical side of things, but a bit more into, I think, the ecosystem itself. And then I think there's a bigger question I have around, I feel like with privacy. Well, let's start there. I have a lot of thoughts, but would love to hear about the ecosystem that you guys have been building. How far along is it? What are the things you guys are most excited about? What's cooking right now? One of the things that you guys are thinking about, maybe even, because I think even in the world of privacy, there's a lot of, we had Charlie from Nilion on recently, or I think it was end of last year, and we've been chatting with them, and they're doing some cool stuff. And so people are definitely starting to think about privacy more and more, but it still feels a little early. So curious how you guys are thinking about the types of projects you want to bring on or are already working with.
Yeah, good question. I mean, the beauty here is being a sort of private L2, that there's a if you pardon the pun, there's a 10x use case across all verticals.
Yes.
Right. If you're talking DeFi, yeah, literally ching, right? So if you're talking DeFi, and the cool thing here is we're not even just having builders who are building for the sake of building. We're having builders who've identified a problem and then are now leveraging privacy to solve it. So, for example, in DeFi, a huge friction point is a negative MEV or bad MEV. It's pretty easily solved. You just encrypt the mempool, so you can't see pending transactions, and that way you can't front run them. So we've got people who are building private dexes, or if you're doing lending, borrowing. We saw this a lot recently in the last few months with the whole James Wynn Hyperliquid saga, and he was like, he or she, whatever.
Was that all a big psyop? I don't know. Were they posting the things and taking the other side? Who knows, right? Yeah.
Time will tell, man. Time will tell. But like the idea was, my liquidation prices are public, and then people are moving the market against me. If I'm going long, the price is falling. If I'm going short, the price is pumping. Is it a coincidence? I don't know. Right? The solution to that is you just hide the liquidation price. You make it a variable, and you make it private. And then even in terms of, we talk about Web3, but the fact of the matter is CT is the bubble. There's a world outside of it, believe it or not. Outside of Telegram and outside of Discord and X, there's a world that's far larger than us. And stuff like dark pools, which are used by institutions today. I mean, they account for up to 40% of daily US equity volumes. For them to be dark, fully on chain, I mean, we talk about institutions are coming, they're coming, but they're not really going to come until the stuff they use on a daily basis is available on chain. And again, you can't be dark without privacy. So that's DeFi covered. And just some of the fun stuff. I mean, let's not lose sight of the goal. Being on chain has to be fun. One of the biggest markets actually, I'll throw this question back to both yourself, Blake, and Polina. How big last year in 2024? What do you think the total revenue for iGaming was for crypto native iGaming? I should say. So anything that had whether it's stake, anything that had a crypto component to it. What was the total revenue across the industry last year?
Probably really fucking low. So I'm gonna say under $1 million just to go crazy with it. That might even be too high. I don't know. Yeah.
Trolling.
Okay.
He's trolling.
Polina, over to you. No pressure. Blake's way off, by the way, so there's a guess.
Oh shit.
I don't know. 5 million.
Okay, perfect. The votes are in. They've been counted. We've got $1 million and we've got $5 million. In 2024, the total revenue across crypto native iGaming was 82 billion.
Whoa.
Blake, you really threw me off.
82 billion.
Wait.
82 billion. Yeah.
You're saying the revenue? Wait, rewind. Define iGaming.
Crypto native iGaming is casinos, everything. Yeah. Gambling. Let's just talk about gambling.
Sorry, I was thinking about all the like on-chain games that are like have been struggling. Oh, holy shit!
You could include that. You could include like stake, where you can bet with Bitcoin or something, or whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was way off.
so the total revenue accumulated by the industry that is crypto native iGaming was 82 billion. And the fact of the matter is, if you want to build any of this stuff fully on chain, you're going to need an element of privacy. I mean, if let's say you're building the typical game, the generic ones, poker and blackjack. These games don't work fully on chain unless you can hide cards. I mean, right now, if you put poker on chain, I will see your hand, which there's no point in playing poker.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I think that's why my estimate is so low, because like fully on-chain gaming is so nascent right now. So that's what I was talking about. But you're talking about like bigger casino players, online gaming that take crypto or use crypto, but they're, for exactly what you're talking about, they're not on chain yet, and that's the cash cow you're chasing, is what I'm hearing.
And so that industry in itself, you basically mentioned it, right? There's not many fully on chain iGaming players, and because you just can't really do it without the privacy. And so some of the projects on 10 today, they're building on-chain crash games with a sort of a speculation concept there, where you're fully on chain, but you're hiding the number that you need to know to win, or whatever it might be. Whether it's something like, if you see that game where the rocket goes up and it blows up at a certain point, and you have to cash out before it blows up. That whole relies on a random number being generated, and it will say at this point this is going to blow up. But if it's on chain without privacy, you know when it's going to blow up, right? So even, I mean, I hate to use that argument of like, if you were to get 1% of it, if you were to get 1% of it, you're doing like over 2.2 million in revenue a day. You're in the top 15 in Web3. So so to answer your question specifically, we've got a bunch of people who are building crash games, casinos, everything that requires privacy to be fully on chain for the masses.
Yeah, but I think also, just to touch on that, like privacy, even for us, it goes beyond just iGaming. Like iGaming is one thing that we see a really clear like use case in, right? Because casinos prove payouts and fairness without revealing, the logic. There's no more rigged accusations or things like that. But also, like within DeFi, dark pools, trade strategies, and all of these checks can run privately on 10, and all kinds of use cases. I mean, we recently opened we recently launched our incubation program. It's in the process of launching right now, and there's so many use cases that we are seeing, people build from, within the realms of like AI auctions, all kinds of things that use privacy. But also, just to touch on what you were talking about, Blake, in the beginning, I think that privacy, like right now, even since I've been at 10, I've seen such a shift in how people see the word and like feel about the word. Like for years, when people, thought about privacy in crypto, they were thinking about, Monero, Tornado Cash, all of these sort of hacks, money laundering, just bad things, or depends what you think is bad, I guess, but illegal things. And that made privacy kind of like a really big liability, like something really shady. People, thought it was just bad. And most people agreed it was bad for mainstream adoption, which is the goal of all this stuff. But it is shifting. And, like I'm sure you talked about this a lot when you were speaking with Nillian, but like as crypto matures, people are realizing that total transparency is just broken. I mean,
it's crazy.
There's so many things now. AI agents need to work with private data. iGaming, as Bhav touched on, requires this randomness, and it's such a huge industry, right? Institutions is also something that we ultimately want to, onboard, and makes a lot of sense for us given what we're doing. And the background of our founders being from that world, like they cannot really be a part of this whole movement if everything is transparent. So it's really cool to see privacy. I guess people say now, like privacy 2.0, it's not about hiding things, it's about selecting what you want to be public. And that's really the best way to look at this. And I think this shift itself, even from Vitalik's, it's really great to see.
Well, and that was actually interesting, because I wanted to hit on that. I didn't, but it feels a little sensitive. So just pardon me if it feels a little bit. I don't want to put you guys on a hot seat, but I am about to put you on the hot seat, which is we are seeing this shift with all these L2s now, that like even the optimistic, getting a little bit technical, but I think most of our audience will understand this, is like a lot of the optimistic rollups are transitioning towards ZK rollups. Privacy is starting to be, and I think as you just alluded to, Vitalik said, eventually all of Ethereum will be encrypted in some way. So I'm curious. Of course, you guys have definitely been thinking about this, but we'll love to hear from you guys. Like, how is 10 thinking about? Obviously, TEs are one form in a way of kind of creating privacy. There are a couple different other ways we can, ZKs and whatever, many more. But can curious how you guys are thinking about that. Like, if that's the main thing right now, and obviously privacy is important, and you guys are leading and you're adopting. How do you guys think about as everyone else starts to catch on, and is it just you move faster and you just gain market share quickly, or what's the game plan? I guess.
Yeah. I'll give away the secrets. Don't worry. I'll give away the secrets. So it kind of goes back to our choice in how does one get privacy, right? We chose TEs because it's the tech we're most familiar with. Also, the founding team come from a background where they understand governments and banks. They like TEs. They're battle tested. But then again, if I'm being unbiased for a second, there are other versions of it. You mentioned one, CK. There's MPC, there's FHE, and they all have their pros and cons. For full transparency, but we're very bullish on all of them. But we understand that for now, T is the most pragmatic approach. So what I mean by that is, today ZK is very good for scalability. So you're seeing a lot of ZK ABMs, but it's not there yet. It will be there, I'm sure, at one point. It's a really hard problem. There's a lot of money behind it. It would eventually get there, but it's not there fully for privacy. You can't build things like a private shared state, which you might need for a DEX or something. For FHE is amazing. We've been, shilling FHE. If you go back to our light paper from like 3 years ago, we've been bullish on FHE before most of the projects today that are doing it even existed. But we understand that there's things that hold it back. It's private, but it's not scalable. So today, TEs give us the best version of privacy out of everything out there in the most scalable format, being an L2. So it's the best option today. So the reason I mentioned that is, you're right. Let's say down the line, 5-10 years, everything's private. Who is going to win? Well, realistically, the one who has most chance of winning is the one that can build the network effects as best as possible. And that probably means have I would say first mover advantage or a second mover advantage or whatever it might be. So we have used of TE specifically to get there first or get there as quick as possible, get there in the best way possible in terms of the privacy and the utility that you can leverage it with, i.e. the sort of genre of dApps. We build these genre of dApps, we onboard the users, we get the network effects, and let's say down the line, a better version of privacy comes along, then in theory, you can just port it and then keep your network effects and have a different reason technology, a different technology as to why it would be private. But at that point, you have the users, you have the dApps, you have the network effects, you have the communities, and everyone else would be, I guess, from a privacy point of view, they'd be starting from very
catching up.
Catch up. Yeah, I wouldn't say zero, but yeah, I mean, we'll be. Let's say the marathon is 26 miles. We'll be at mile 20, about to hit the wall, pushing through the last 6. And they're just, warming up, I guess.
Well, and that's the important thing, right? And that's where I think, again, it goes back to the marketing, go-to-market. It's very much a go-to-market play. And it, as we know, like not just in crypto, but in all of technology, it's like, and it depends. Like there are all types of case studies, I guess, but more often than not, just first mover can make a big difference, right? Like Ethereum is not necessarily the fastest chain, but it was one of the first. It pioneered smart contracts, and where's all the TVL? It's on Ethereum. Right. So
and there's even that argument. I remember the whole Peter Thiel argument in 0 to 1, where he says like the last move advantage is actually the best advantage, and it's like the first rarely wins. And to be honest,
because that's the Apple play. Apple just waits for everyone else to do it first, and then they come in and copy.
Exactly. And everyone's like, "Oh, Apple, we're really disappointed in the AI right now." We're like, "Well, they're just waiting for the right moment. Give them time. Let them warm up. They're stretching." And I'm sure when they end up releasing something crazy, it's going to be better than everything else. But that's just Apple, right? Because you know them, you trust them to do that because they've done it so many times. And even with the privacy aspect, what we basically did was we'll sort of cooking on the sidelines. We're taking notes of, all right, what's really good here? All right, we'll double down on that. For other privacy solutions, what's really bad? All right, let's stay away from that. And we sort of realized that there was a few things. Number one, before 10, when you talk about privacy, it was binary. It was like everything's private or nothing's private. And that's why you had the whole money laundering narratives and bad actor narratives. So when we built 10, we gave it a way of basically making the privacy programmable, meaning not everything has to be private. Going back to, let's say, an easy example being the poker. You can have the cards on the table, they're all public, everyone can see them, but your hand is private. So you've assigned 2 variables, public and variable at the same time. So public and private at the same time. But that was the first one. And the second one was when you were building with privacy in mind, it was the worst developer experience ever. I'm not even a dev, and I know how bad it was. It was learning all these niche languages, the SDKs, blah blah blah, all the technical words, all the jargon. In our case, we're like, look, most L2s today, I mean, I think pretty much all of them are, at least the Ethereum ones, the contracts are written in Solidity. So when you now build on 10, you don't need to know anything else but Solidity. I mean, we're basically trying to onboard the developers by saying, you know what, believe it or not, but you're already qualified for this job. There's no extra qualifications to require. So just the same way you're built on, Arbitrum, you can just copy and paste the code and deploy it on 10 and maybe just change one line to make something private, whatever makes sense in your case. And that's it. You can literally get it done over a weekend.
Which this is great. And by the way, I hate to interrupt, but I just want to be mindful of time because I think we will be coming up in the next 10 or so minutes. But I have two quick questions. One is, would be curious to hear about your guys' take on kind of institutionals and bigger players versus retail in terms of who you're targeting. Because obviously, as you guys noted earlier, right, the founders' backgrounds comes from working with the bigger players. So is that very much, is it both? Is it kind of one takes more priority right now? And then Polina had a great question, I think, around the kind of like, as you guys are talking about the TE kitchen and this the vibe coding stuff you guys are doing sounds really cool. So I want to make sure we can hit those real quick before
and Lovable with all the vibe coding stuff. Like Lovable is the name of the vibe coding culture now, and you just partner with them for like a hackathon-ish thing. So how did you get them?
Yeah, for sure. I think first, let's definitely touch on the institutional versus retail. I think that, a lot of, I guess, adoption when it comes to layer 2s has been like grassroots, right? Like, trading, meme coins, iGaming, things like this. And, we definitely lean into this in many ways. We do see that like for, retail, the hook is about it being fair, fun, examples in our House of 10 or fully on-chain poker. But the bigger picture for us is definitely institutions on board. I think that long-term, the bigger prize is definitely institutional adoption. Like there's so much to be said about how transparent chains don't work for them, right? No fund is going to reveal trading strategies. No bank is going to, want to move sensitive data onto a public space. So for us, we see such a big fit. Obviously, our founders come from that background, work for the biggest enterprise blockchain. And because we do have this selective transparency model, it opens up these use cases for those people, right? Like, dark pools with this sort of provable best execution within DeFi, compliance friendly DeFi, AI handling sensitive enterprise data. For us, I guess, like, we don't see it as, an either or. Obviously, right now, we have that like retail focus first, but we definitely balance both. I think that retail drives volume and culture and like all of this stuff, hype. And it makes, I guess, the chain feel really alive and helps us build that culture. But, this is definitely something that long-term makes a lot of sense for us because, I think some chains do focus on one or the other, but for us, I guess our edge is in the designing tech, right? If you look at the tech, if you understand what T's open up. Bhav, what do you think about this?
Yeah, no, Liam hit the nail on his head, but again, going back to TEs, we know institutions back them. They trust them. Governments trust them. The honest truth is the sales cycles are way longer, right? You can't just of course snap your fingers and say, all right, I want to have Goldman tomorrow, right? It's just not going to work, right? You think Web3 roadmaps are delayed, but you haven't even met institutions yet, right? So like today when you say, okay, who's got a MetaMask wallet? It's the crypto native people, right? So it makes strategic sense to target them first. And in the background, we cook. We of course have the R3 relationships. I mean, like I said, the banks in itself have invested in us. So it's very much, I think, prioritize the Web3 native use cases right now, and in the background work towards institutions, and then they will come. And like, they will come, and not because I'm saying they will come because they need the privacy to come. And
10 out of 10. Let's go.
10, man. G10.
G10.
In the background, we cook in the TE kitchen, right?
Exactly.
So
let's talk about the TE kitchen. I want to hear about that.
Yeah, it is a super, I mean, like, I think it's one of the coolest like initiatives that we've really been a part of like recently, for sure. It's basically, I mean, it's TEN's, I guess, hackathon format, right? It's designed to feel like, but more of like a cultural event, like not just a super tech heavy grind. And for us, we wanted to, when we were creating this, we basically wanted to make sure it focuses on, builders and creators and community all in like one space. And that's really what we have now. We have almost 10. I think we had like a lot of more submissions, and then we ended up having like 12 or something. But they are
You
going
gotta
to
have 10. It's got to.
We gotta have 10. I know, but it
Yeah.
was some.
10
It's hard.
It's hard. It's hard. Who's going to tell the two that?
But yeah, it's not like the way that it is. It's not just like come and build a DApp. It's kind of more like come and cook up new categories together. Like that's why we had kitchen, experimentation. That whole vibe is like what it is. It's really, and it's a chance for people to come in and basically say, okay, we know 10. A lot of them have been a part of like the 10 community for a while. Some of them at least, and they know 10. They understand what 10 unlocks, and they maybe don't have the, I guess, tech background to be able to build what they want to build. And Lovable, of course, like is the most talked about AI vibe coding startup now, allows those people, those creative people, to come in and do that. The kind of things that we've heard are being built from the people in our in this community is crazy. Like they're building all kinds of stuff from like encrypted ballots, and someone's building like a gamified crypto piggy bank that saves small amounts of money. It's like all kinds of like cool prediction markets, and they're all able to build this from such a very simple platform like Lovable. Like I don't know how many of you guys or people watching have used it, but it's so easy to use and just so cool that you can link something like this to something like 10, right? Which we're in very separate worlds, but it's really cool to see. And I think we're like the first to partner with Lovable to do something like this, right, Bhav?
Yeah, and that's exactly it, right? That's sort of what sort of caught why they sort of caught our eye, because historically Web3 brands and projects have shipped out great partnerships. We had like Nike and Reddit and like Starbucks at one point, but the honest truth is they sort of led to something very minimal. And we were like, okay, if we're going to partner with this like AI juggernaut of a brand, we need it to like ship something ASAP. We need it to not just be like a JPEG X JPEG logo partnership on X, right? We'll just
partner X partner.
co-marketing JPEG collab, right? We need to like actually have utility on day one. And like for those who are listening, Lovable is huge. I mean, to give you some numbers, they launched end of last year, and in 8 months from launch, from 0 to 8 months, they've done 100 million in ARR. I'm pretty sure it's the fastest time or the shortest time period for a software company in history, right? They just raised 200 mil at 1.8. They're getting offers at 4 billion right now. And it's like, okay, we're positioning 10 as, I think, if I'm correct, the first Web3 brand or project out there to partner up with these guys, but also doing it in a way in which the utility is instantaneous. We have what we call chefs. We have literal chefs in the TE kitchen using 10 Lovable like on day one.
Which is so sick, by the way. I'd love to, I know we're running over. If you guys have a couple more minutes, just because I am curious about, because this is something we've talked about internally with our DevRel team and others, is like working with different chains. And like, I'm vibe coding myself personally. I love Lovable. I'm using a lot of Replit, but vibe coding a bunch of different things. But what I found, and what even our DevRels have found, is that it's really hard to vibe code with blockchain, basically. Like even just because like vibe coding in itself with regular non-smart contracts is already not very imperfect, let's be honest. But then with smart contracts, it gets even harder. So did you guys do something specific there with Lovable so they have access to your kind of how you guys work in your docs, or how did that come together? I guess how do you guys make it easier? Yeah,
that's a good question. I'm going to shout out our DevRel Jobin. He sort of built this. He basically pointed out that sort of feature and said, okay, well, how are we going to bring the 10 aspect into it? So he built up basically this AI generator for smart contracts, which basically with a few prompts, you can now create the smart contracts, port them over to the Lovable side, and then use Lovable to finish the rest. So it literally
now that is
it's
truly 10 out of 10. Very hard.
It's literally vibe coding on 10. X vibe coding on Lovable, and you can have a DApp in a day or something, like fully functioning. And it's funny because Polina, we mentioned at the start, like the debate of who's more important, the tech guys or the non-tech guys. Well, the honest truth is, at this point, the non-tech guys can become the tech guys by using Lovable and 10. This is not an ad.
Wait, can anyone just do this right now, or do we have to be accepted into the kitchen?
10 slots, right?
No,
10,
you've
10
stopped. Yeah, you're not unless we make it 14 and then we kick out more, 2. Do you feel comfortable to kick 2 out of our current kitchen? Like
you gotta have break the news to them.
I'll break the news
on day 1. But to go, it'll be an ongoing thing, anyways. I mean, and it's funny. We sort of we mirrored it by thinking of the World Cup. So we have 10 to start with, and then we have knockout rounds, and we have live voting, and the community decide who's getting knocked out. And at the end, one is crowned the head chef or the Michelin star chef or whatever.
Yeah, like the X Factor vibes, right?
And everyone's getting a 10-10 jersey. Everyone's getting Lovable merch. They get Lovable credits as rewards. The first prize gets incubated by 10. The second prize gets automatic grants. Like everyone's a winner at the end of the day.
This is sick.
You're
in the kitchen,
it's
you
so
win.
Amazing.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 guys, truly.
Usually these hackathons, like you bring in the devs, they build something, that's it, they go and you never see anything again. But here you bring in the community, the live event action, like this.
Really great take. And we honestly need more of these. So you guys crushed that.
Rapid fire time.
Yes, rapid fire. We are running over. I have another call. I don't know if he's watching right now. I sent him the link. I'm like, I'm on this line. Okay, let's hop into it. So rapid fire, 4 questions. We've asked every guest in 3 seasons these questions. Most underrated marketing tactic in Web3 right now?
For me, I would say I think that like Web3 is obviously hyper digital. I feel like everything's online. I think that I guess like physical artifacts, right? Like some like jerseys, like merch, things that are like physical, that are like tangible. I think that for us, that's been like something that we really leverage, right? We've made 10 become very easily recognizable. Our team is recognizable. And even with our zins, right, at Token Dubai, these became like a really big joke and like conversation starter for a lot of people. People were taking photos. So I would say that because it sort of anchors memory. Like you might forget like a Twitter thread, but you're not going to forget like the jersey you wore at a conference or this, things like that. It becomes more of like an identity. So I would say, like IRL physical aspects. Bhav, what about you?
The most underrated, I'm going to say, depends how you approach them, but crypto side events. Depends how you approach them.
Organizing or being part of?
Or just going.
Going, number one.
BD, true BD.
BD.
Yeah, literally. BYOB, bring your own BD. And I would say definitely organizing or sponsoring or doing some sort of collab. I think that's the most underrated. Everyone thinks crypto side events are just a happy hour at this point. To the extent it is. But I feel that, as long as you can bring that physical presence with some kind of physical artifact, as Liam put it, and bring some kind of synergies there, it's the most underrated way.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with that.
What's the most overrated one?
KOLs.
Mine's the total opposite now. Okay, so you need to go.
I'm saying KOL. I'm saying like these big KOLs. I mean, I always tweet about it. I feel like a lot of KOLs kind of hate me now. I heard, but no, I'm kidding. But I think paying like some big KOLs or like, to do things, I think it gives you some short-term hype. I think that like these paid shows might bring us a sudden wave, but like there's no loyalty. I think that like, I think communities are now, like, I think it worked. I think communities are sharp. I think that they can spot organic versus scripted. instantly. Obviously, I think that there's value in like some KOLs, and I think a lot of, especially like micro KOLs coming up, and I think that, you know, if someone fits within your narrative, it makes sense. But I do think that, you know, this whole I guess I say like old way of like, you know,
just being an account like 30K to tweet something is not high.
Yeah,
enough.
yeah.
Let's put it that way.
I think that I would say.
Bav, over to you.
For me, it's actually the polar opposite of my initial answer, which is most overrated. I would say is sponsoring a booth at a main conference.
Yes.
People
I don't even
like
go.
30, 40. Yeah,
Who goes?
Firstly, I don't even buy a ticket anymore. I'm at the brunch. I'm at the brunch across the road. But people drop like 50, 100 grand on a booth. They give out the most generic cotton T-shirt or something, or like some sticker. No one's gonna remember you for it. You're like, oh, I'm gonna appear on like the banner or something. Again, no one's gonna look at you.
It's useless.
Like to an extent, think about ROI.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or just think of how many 10 jerseys you can make with that same amount of money. You know what I mean? Like how many Zins and how many Labubu jerseys you can make with 50 grand of a booth.
Yeah. All right, gents, we do have to wrap it up. So I'm gonna push this along to the next one, which is which crypto brands and or projects are crushing it? It can't be your own, obviously, because we just spent the whole time here. So who else do you want to shout out? Who do you guys love?
I think in terms of community, we really love what I guess like the Bare Bodies, what they're doing is really cool because like I think that especially when there's been a lot of, you know, people who've maybe like rolled their eyes or like dismissed it as like, I don't know, gimmicky or cringe or whatever. I think that the way they leaned into that and like made, you know, this sort of part of their whole lore, I think they have one of the strongest community in terms of like in people, especially women into Web3. They are definitely, and we actually might have something coming up with them soon, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, I would say definitely a big one. What about you?
Mine's I'm gonna say two. One is Boundless. They've just been crazy in the last like 6 months or something. I think visuals, everything. The marketing's been so on point. The events. I mean, I think they did a Kaito launchpad the other day. It sold out in like 15 minutes or something. And the other one is Succinct Labs. I remember this goes back to what I was saying. No one cares about the tech unless you kind of make it fun or give them a reason to care. When they launched their, I believe it was their testnet. A part of the sort of onboarding was like generating a ZK proof, so you understood ZK. I think they killed it. And I remember the moment they launched it, it like blew up on the timeline. Everyone's talking about it. So like they found PMF, of course.
They're crushing it, and now they're integrating into some big chains as well. So it's been cool to see. Okay, and then the last one here. This one's our favorite. Is looking back at the past year or so. What are your biggest learnings, or like professional learnings?
For me, I think one thing that I really learned, I feel like Bhav kind of like when I started at 10, this is something he like, I guess, helped me fully recognize because you can hear it, but until you really experience it, I guess like the fact that like tech alone, it can be quite invisible sometimes. Like, you know, great code doesn't just spread by itself. I think the culture alone, you know, also, you know, alone can crash, right? Because like it can create short-term stickiness. But if you have culture first and then a really strong tech backing, that's how to win. Of course, you need both, but I think, you know, one without the other, culture and tech without the other, just simply doesn't work. So I would say that's something that I really have realized in the last year, like fully recognized. What about you?
Love that.
For me, it's funny because I come from a background where the sales was very transactional. I've got a Bloomberg terminal. I've got a phone ready to call the hedge fund manager. He doesn't care about me. I probably don't care about him, and it's very transactional. And Web3 is that total opposite. If you go into Web3 with BD trying to be transactional, it's literally the biggest ick in the world.
Yeah,
you're like, leave me alone. You see all these people walking around side events waiting to like capture TG QR codes. You're like, bro, it's not going to lead to anything. The reality of Web3 is that we're literally this huge like friendship group online, and then there's a few opportunities where you see each other at events. Make friends, be likable, because the honest truth in Web3 is people like to do business or build on chains where they actually like the people behind the chain. So make friends, not business contacts.
Woo! I like that. Good ones all around. 10 out of 10s. And I would second that because I think it's just about relationships, right? Relationship building, knowing who to trust. And I trust you guys. So very bullish on 10 out of 10 and 10 protocol and all the stuff you guys are cooking up. Really great to hear all the progress you guys have been making, all the partnerships you guys have been cooking up, and the fact that you guys are moving and getting things done. And bullish on the jersey, I guess. Yeah, that too.
Yeah. So, Polina, you will get yours. Don't worry. Give it like 2 days or something.
Damn custom.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
As we wrap it up, one last thing is what's the call to action? Where can people find you? What do you want people to do? Any alpha you want to share or things that people should be keeping their eyes peeled for in the coming months or weeks to come? Let the world know, and then we'll sign off.
I would say one of the biggest things coming up now that you should definitely stay tuned for is our Zero Genetic Incubation Program. We have recently announced, and we're going to have so many partner spotlights from that program coming up. So there's a lot of really cool things happening within that program, within the realm of like entertainment, DeFi, AI, all kinds of things. And yeah, I guess you can find 10 at 10 protocol and me at Liam Bubble without the E. I'm like blowing bubbles and like Bhav.
Yeah. The call to action is that 10 protocol. If I was you, I'm a bit biased, but I'll go ahead and say it. Just press the bell icon so you get a notification. It'll wake you up through the night when we tweet. Some of the things that are about to come. Mainnet is very close. In the coming month or two. We'll have TG at some point this year as well. And yeah, I'm going to shout myself out at 0xBhav BHAVB. And I'm going to be shit posting. So yeah, like me.
Shit post away, baby. We love it. Yeah. All right, friends.
Thanks, everyone.
We got to get running, but thanks so much. This is incredible.
See you in London.
10 out of 10s all around. And we'll see you at Korea, KBW, and Token.
10-10.
Until then.
G10.
10 out of 10. All right. G10.
Bye-bye.